Hello and welcome to another Warcraft 3 commentary. Today we are going to be watching the finals of WFDC. If you're wondering what WFDC is, it is a 2v2 amateur league with several professionals actually playing in it. And today we're going to see all four of these teams are, of course, professionals. It's the finals, and what it stands for is Warcraft Forever Duos Cup. So this is going to be a best of 5 between two teams. Lucifer, or I'm sorry, not Lucifer. I keep saying it, I don't know why. Ted, spawning as the yellow undead, allied with Fly, spawning as the purple orc, against Yumiko as the gray human, and Thu as the red human. So yes, those games where you watched Thu and Yumiko playing together, being one of the best 2v2 teams in the world, clearly taking several victories in WFDC with their double human awesomeness, is now going to go off against Ted and Fly. So we'll see how well it works. Now, these games, I gotta tell you, in the series are pretty good. They really are. These are some pretty good games, and hopefully you guys get to watch all of them. There's only one tiny little caveat, which is that Game 2 is gone. It wasn't uploaded to the WFDC site. There was a live stream, but I didn't get to watch it. It was very early on in the day, and I was asleep at the time. So I have no idea. I can't. Unfortunately, I don't know why the game happened to just disappear like that. If maybe it'll get found, I have no idea. So that's unfortunate. I will be bringing you 4 of the 5 games, but that is an issue. So I've talked enough about that. This is the Death Knight spawning for Ted over here. And you can see Farseer going for Fly right over here. Now here you can see that he did go ahead and make 2 shops, and that was unintentional. That was intentional. I said on, but I was going to say on purpose, but that is intentional because it allows him to grab 2 rod of necromancies, and he can pass one of those over to his Farseer friend right here. And of course, when you unsummon a shop, you get 50% of its resources back, so it's not a big deal. Here we can see that 3 of these healing salves are going to be put onto the Death Knight, and 3 of them are going to be placed on the Farseer. Over here we can see Thu with an Archmage at level 2, and Yumiko with a level 1 Mountain King, and Thu is going to go for this expansion. So what's going to happen here is he is going to go ahead and use these Rod of Necromancies. Both players are, in order to do as much damage to these peasants as is possible, hopefully without losing their heroes. And with these salves that they have, they're going to have a bit of staying power if they don't get cancelled or anything, which is going to be something they can probably pull off, but we'll have to wait and see. Now there are going to be, of course, footmen coming in here from both Yumiko and Fly. This is essentially what you're going to expect, is just both, from what we've seen before of Thu and Yumiko, is that they like to make a lot of footmen, and they stay tier 1 for a while. So we'll see what happens here. They know that they need to get this expansion up, and if they do, that will be nice for them. But as you can see, so many peasants are dropping to the skeletal harass. It's actually quite good. The amount of peasants dying right there. Over here we can see that this is going to be Fly just running over here to the main base now to try to pick off some more peasants and militia as well. Here we can see as healing salve being used quite effectively by Ted on his Death Knight to go ahead and get some more life onto it while he kills the sheep so he can make more skeletons. And as you can see, really a good placement by Thu, trying to just catch around and get the cancel off where he can by placing his units in interesting places. Over here we can see this is now going to go up, and it's going to be very difficult for them to manage to take this down at this point with how far along it is. Here we can see Thu is the one building the Town Hall, and Yumiko is building the tower as well as the Arcane Vaults. Although they do both have peasants here, we're probably going to see Yumiko throw down a lumber mill as well with his peasants so he can mine wood down here. And that's something that's really effective, to have both players being able to supplement this really big harass with peasants. And it's not as bad as it may look, so it's not placing Thu and Yumiko as behind as you may think, with the sheer number of peasants that have gone down, which is quite a few, because of the fact that they can in fact split them between the 2 of each other. Now here we do see Thu is essentially just trying to defend against Fly's Farseer harass over here, and as we see, did actually manage to push him out of the way, and I don't think he died, but I don't know where he went. Is he over here? Ah, he's over here. Sorry, I lost sight of him for a second. Anyway, we can see that Fly is going to go ahead and begin just pretty much doing the same thing. This is just a really long extended harass. However, the Fly's Farseer finally gets bolted and surrounded over here. And he's going to go down. He goes down, does not teleport out. But if he teleported out, he would not be able to continue this harass with those wolves and the grump that's not going to run away. But So would it have been worth it? I'm not really sure. Here we can see that Ted not in the greatest position here. He probably will teleport out, and he does go ahead and do that because he doesn't want to lose that Fiend, and that would have been unfortunate. His units were blocked and barely making it out with 159 life just as it gets to that Blight and starts to regenerate again. Here we can see there's another grunt from Fly that maybe carelessly has gotten microed into this way or auto rally pointed this way and simply forgotten about as he was dealing with other stuff, which is pretty common, really, more common than you might imagine. Here we see Thu is going to go ahead and start his tech to tier 2, and over here we can see that Yumiko is going to throw down a blacksmith and a lumber mill, so it looks like he's actually not intending to keep his peasants over here, and maybe that's just because this is a high risk area or any other number of reasons. Maybe it's better to have militia or be able to call these to militia, but we have seen him do that before where he's built a lumber mill at Thu's expo and then used them to mine wood there, but those were against, I believe, different races, so without nearly this much harass, so that may very well be what it is separating them and why they would not do that in this game. Here we can see essentially Ted is just creeping over here. And now we can see a big harass coming in here from Thu and Yumiko with all these footmen. As you can see, footmen really are good when they're in big numbers. That's just one of the little things about them. Here we can see that Fly is actually tier 2, and he is trying to throw down his 2 spirit lodges. However, one is going to be canceled. It looks like the one in the back might go up. Here we can see lots of these burrows are going to take a lot of damage right here. These footmen from Thu are in fact defend footmen, which means as well as which means essentially that it's going to be very difficult for Burrows alone to force him out of here. Even Fiends will be having a hard time to really force these guys out. And if we check over here real quick, we can see that Ted is at tier 2 as well, and he's gonna go ahead and throw down something there. I believe that's a slaughterhouse. Yeah, sorry, there we go. Now he can see that these are essentially, Ted is gonna come in here with a Dark Ranger second, trying to get some damage onto Thu's Archmage. Very close to level 3, as you can see, 5 experience away, and also though very low. So we're gonna see what happens here. We can see that Fly's Tauren Chieftain just trying to kill that Mountain King a little bit, while we can see some extra damage going off from Ted's Dark Ranger onto that as well. Now we can check that he has skilled Dark Arrow, which essentially is, if you don't know, it's what allows him to summon skeletons when he kills units, and so it's really nice when you're dealing with footmen, because defended footmen, for example, really don't do well or don't really have to worry about too much damage from a fiend, but a skeleton, such as one of these lesser dark minions, especially if you get several of them, that can become a real threat for footman armies. So going Dark Ranger second here, probably a really good choice, and might be game breaking at some point in time. We will have to wait and see. Both players, or both human players, teeping up this way, and they are going to go ahead and be able to use really efficient healing regeneration scroll as well as some clarities just to try to get everything healed back up. And we can see that Thu is now throwing down 3 Arcane Sanctums. Maybe we're going to see Yumiko pulling him a little bit, but it looks like instead he's just going to go with rifles. That's a good choice, I think, going Rifle Caster Footman. Definitely a strong army, and something that both Ted and Fly are going to have to deal with a little bit down here. I'm just not used to there being another undead. You know, because Ted had been retired for so long. But yeah, and I think this might be my first game casting Ted since he's been back. I don't quite remember, but it's one of the first ones either way, and it's definitely good to see him play again. He has got some really amazing micro, one of the really best Fiend users ever. Definitely someone who is well deserving of the greatest undead during his time when he was active a couple years back. So definitely good to see him back. We won't be seeing him in any Zotac Cups, I don't think, but we'll see. I think there is a couple people trying to see if they can get him to play Zotac, but I don't think he's actually going to be interested in that, from what he has said, if I remember correctly. But anyway, here you see a footman going down, just to some really nice harass right there. Looks like a priest is out, but it's not going to live very long either. Giving level 4 to the Death Knight, and we can see the Dark Ranger is about to hit level 2. That Farseer and Tauren Chieftain are both still at level 1, and we don't have any upgrades on any of these units just yet. We might have some on Thu's units, but I doubt it, to be honest. I'll look and see. Yeah, no upgrades yet. Here we do see these Spirit Wolves being picked off, really, but wasting some mana from these sorceresses. Not a huge deal given that they do have level 2 Brilliant Aura, but really still something you need to be watched out for. Now, you can see that over here. Watch out for what I mean is, of course, running out of mana on those units, because there aren't that many, and there are quite a few units over here that you could want to have slowed potentially. Anyway, an Arcane Sanctum is going to go down to this Focus Fire. This expansion is in a bit of trouble, but will it go down? Ultimately, that's an interesting question. It's going to be very difficult for them to take it down. They don't have Dispel out right now, and they're going to have to deal with all these casters as well as summons. So we'll have to see what they're going to do. Looks like that Paladin is out. Going to be the second hero. Fourth is actually the Paladin. I think I saw that a second ago, but At any rate, here we can see that this is going to be a level 3 Mountain King, in fact. He's going to be very strong with that. He's going to be able to do some really nice bolt damage using that. So we'll see what happens. Here we can see that Ted really just keeping his units kind of in a tight ball and alternating between sides here with his attacks. You know, here I'm going to go for the footman, over here now I'm going to go for a rifle or whatever he wants to do. Here you can see these militia are coming in from through. Now this is a bad position for Ted at this point. Ted not really doing too well right here. He's going to have to back out of here, and he does have several fiends that are burrowed over there, and if they get revealed, which is a really big threat, then they will all die if Ted does not TP them out. We can see that TP has been passed to the Dark Ranger from, I believe that is, of course, yeah, Fly's farce here. Now he will be able to TP them out at this point if he decides to go in there and do that, no problem, because of course it takes, I believe, 3 to 5 seconds. I think it's 5 seconds to TP out fully, and so we'll see what happens. Actually, he leaves one just to be sneaky about it because he doesn't believe that they actually counted the number of fiends that were down and that went back out. But it does look like that's in fact going to be able to stay there, and what that is, that's effectively going to act as a good scout. And we can see that Fly's army is running away. A very slow army, of course, because he has all of those units that were in fact slowed by the sources. And over here we can see that now that he's pulled those creeps away, Yumiko is going to say this is a grand time for me to start creeping this out. I'll take a little bit less damage, and by the time you realize what I'm doing, or by the time you get the balls to come back over here, it's going to pretty much be crept out. And that looks like it's going to work out pretty well for him. Over here we can see that Fly is deciding this is going to be his shop, and now we can see Ted coming into the back for some support. Here you can see a fiend that is slowed, unfortunately trying to crawl its way across the map. Not seeing a tier 3 undead yet, which is interesting. I think one of the things that we might be seeing the reason for that is because of the fact that he is breaking upkeep. As you can see, he's at 51 out of 60, and we do have a double lodge over here. So the big benefit of going tier 3 as the undead would be to get destroyers, to have that anti-magic, to have the dispel. But with all these spirit walkers, it's also not a bad choice either, because you can get quite a few dispels that way. We can see someone is TPing. I'm not sure who it is. It looks like both Yumiko and Thor are going to TP into this place right here, and this is going to force Ted and Fly to pretty much run back at this point. They don't want to take too bad of a position to fight, but this is a much better positioning for them. We can see that they're going to be able to start focusing down on these spellbreakers. We can see that Ted's fiends have received a damage upgrade, which is going to be nice. None of Thu's units are upgraded. However, Yumiko does have a damage upgrade on his rifles as well. We can see a lot of damage focus going off onto this Paladin. The Paladin going to get out of there, but he is silenced, so he's not going to be able to do his Invul Potion, or his Divine Shield, Divine Shield, if he wanted to while he is silenced. He hasn't picked up Ore, even though it may look like it. He actually has the Lion Horn of Stormwind. He's carrying that, which might confuse Ted or Fly a little bit if they don't check his items, but they probably will, because of course they are both professional players and very, very good at that. So you can see that quite a bit of what appears to be some Thunderclap action from this Mountain King. He's very tanky at this point. He does have a potion of greater healing, as well as a Paladin that can keep him alive. You can see a Fiend going to get burrowed. It's going to go down and get saved, I think, perhaps with a Scroll of Healing. But here we can see that this is a Scout Tower that can, in fact, reveal it does have Arcane Sentry research, so now both of these Fiends are going to go down. Unfortunately, now that can also be used to be upgraded into a defense post if they want, because if they do that, then it's going to force Ted and Fly really to come this way in order to take an attack onto this expansion again, which they may not do, but you never know, because it's already there, and it would be fairly cheap to upgrade that, and really just putting that as an arcane tower, and then good scouting and going ahead and defending that tower would be something that I would be interested to see, but I'm not sure if they'll do that. Over here we can see that there is a scout from through over here, just trying to make sure that they don't get an expansion without them knowing about it, and it's going to be going down, well worth the money spent really for that scout. Not a huge deal to the experience wise, and honestly, when they have as many units as they do, one footman, not a big deal. In any fight, it would have actually been obliterated by this point. So as you can see, really the entire footman army being replaced, transitioned into mass spellbreakers, some casters, and rifles, and that's a pretty scary army for any undead to deal with. However, of course, with the added bonus of having Spirit Link, it's not as bad. So we'll see what happens in this next big upcoming fight that will happen. Now we can see that a Witch Doctor is coming out. Now Witch Doctors are really nice to have, and if we look over here, we're going to go ahead and check because we haven't checked in a while. This still is just double barracks and keeping it under 50 food. However, he has to be on his tech, and it's, as you can see, he's throwing down 3 additional farms, so he may very well be breaking his food balance, his upkeep very soon. We can see 3 workshops are going down, in fact, for Thu over here, and he still only has 2 Arcane Sanctums. He did not rebuild the 3rd, and that is in fact a Goblin Shredder going ahead, getting a another level of masonry, about to hit tier 3, and if we look over here, it looks like both of the humans are just going to be going ahead and trying to get as much experience as they can. High level heroes are a big deal, especially in 2v2, of course, where it matters a lot. Now you can see through going ahead and throwing down 2 additional scout towers right here. You may very well decide to upgrade these, but they may also just act as scouts. Nope, they're going to go ahead and become guard towers. These are a little bit far out, but again, in 2v2s, your fights generally are going to be in the more open spaces like right here, rather than in the more enclosed spaces like right back there, even if these towers are here. Because otherwise your units will simply get slaughtered if they're not in the perfect position back here, and it's very difficult in the heat of battle in one of those bad positions back there to really reposition and really micro your army. We can see that several statues are on the field, so of course this is about to hit, Ted is about to hit tier 3. He loses a Fiend as he's going to cast Coil on it, unfortunately for him, and we can see that the Crypt Fiend this one time is going to get coiled, but it's still stunned, so it's going to go down anyway, as it tries to burrow, almost getting out of there, but unfortunately not quite fast enough. Now we can see that the Mountain King was silenced for a little bit, but he's level 4, almost level 5, and if he gets any kind of really strong bolts off, he could obviously pick off another unit with all this extra focus fire right here. Now we can see Fly has decided to teleport in, and now that he's teleported in, they're going to try to pick off some units here. Might be able to pick off a rifle here, and that would be pretty good. There he goes, one rifle down, and they need to do a little bit more damage really to even this out, because yeah, I'm sorry, these two, Fly and Ted, would need to do a little bit more damage to even out the fact that they cost them a TP. But they are going to get an expansion up down here, so that's pretty good for them. We can see over here, is he's still just chilling out with just a double Spirit Lodge, and at tier 2, that is in fact what he's going to do, going ahead and at 55 out of 60 food. They do need to be into upkeep, both of them, and we do see both of them are. You can see that Ted is at 54 out of 70. And the idea for that, and they're going to actually go ahead and pick off these 2 level 2 masonry upgraded guard towers, which isn't a bad thing. It's a little bit of experience, and it wastes, sorry, my elbow popped. Yeah. But yeah, so that's not relevant. But it did pop. Okay, trying to get back on track here. Yes, so they both need to be in upkeep, and the reason for this is because the fact that they have thrown down an expansion, and whenever you're throwing down an expansion when your opponents have already had an expansion for a while running, you do need to not be banking. And as you can see, this is because, as you can tell, Thu is already at 80 food and Yumiko is still at 50, but having that big of a food difference, and it actually looks like we're going to see quite a few flying machines in here. They're probably well upgraded at this point. We can see they're actually also going to be grabbing some flying machine bombs. Here we can see some webs going off. Will it be enough? We don't know just yet to really deal with this, but here we do see these destroyers are going to be going up, and you're just going to have to deal with all of these flying machines before you can really start dealing with anything else. Otherwise, these destroyers will be in serious amounts of damage, or serious amounts of trouble. And here we can see that really they're going to pick apart and just really destroy all those flying machines. It just wasn't enough for the amount of fiends and destroyers that are actually out there. Now we can see that this is a good position for Ted and Fly at this point. As you can tell, that he's really just doing what he needs to do to really just completely obliterate these positions and really just take control of the map at this point. And really, he's I don't know who had the superior army food counts. I believe Thu and Yumiko may have had a higher combined total food, but really with a lot of that being in just flying machines, and the flying machines simply weren't at that critical mass point, so they were basically useless. They just bought a little bit of time. Other than that, they didn't really do anything. Now, it's very easy to mass those up. We can see Yumiko's going to have 2 mortar teams, and they're probably both going to get picked off. That's unfortunate for him if that happens, because mortar teams take a while to come out, and of course that's one thing that's very interesting, though. It does mean that Yumiko has gone ahead and put up some workshops. Now we can see it looks like one of them is going to actually live unless they get picked off right here by these dire wolves right here, as well as maybe a little bit of that. Looks like actually the forest here does pick up an orb of corruption, which is a good choice. Now we can see that second mortar team about to go down, but gets holy lighted and full back to full life over here. Now we can tell that there are in fact going to be some frag shards being upgraded. This will do a lot of damage to fiends if there is any considerable number of mortar teams out on the field. And so if you have a bunch of flying machines, you can deal with the destroyers effectively, but you're going to need quite a few, and that's not enough right there. Even it looks like it's a lot, and it is a lot, but they're each 1 food. And effectively, what you need to consider is that a destroyer is 5 food, and a fiend is 3 food. So even though it looks like that's a lot, it's really not a lot compared to what it's going to be going up against. And of course, with the kind of setups and positioning we've been seeing both Ted and Fly take in these battles, which has been pretty good, you can definitely be sure that if you don't have enough flying machines, you're not going to do enough damage, and you're just going to lose them and feed a bunch of experience and lose a ton of resources. However, of course, these do come out so very fast, especially from 3 workshops, that it's not going to be too terribly difficult for them to get up to that point, and it looks like they're getting pretty close to having enough at this point. We'll have to wait and see. But also on top of that, not only are these going to be good against that, another use for them is now that they have the flying bombs, that is going to be a siege attack, and it's going to be 9 to 12 damage at level 2 upgrade. And you can say that's not really a lot of damage, but again, when we see the numbers here, that's what it's all about, is the numbers, and that's siege damage. So if you think about it, maybe one of these or 2 of these, this is like either 1 or 2 tanks worth of damage every, or at least 1 or 2 tanks worth of DPS, and that's going to be a pretty big deal. And then you can just see that happen right here. Yeah, as you can see, it's just absolutely tearing apart this shop. And that's not something that you really want to have to deal with, because there's no way to really deal with these effectively without getting your fiends or your destroyers into positioning. And of course, they're very quick and very easy to get away. So although, of course, 1 did go ahead and get picked off, 1 is really not a big deal. They did a lot more damage than losing 1 is worth. So, or whatever the point, what I'm trying to say is that it was good for them to go ahead and do that. They did take out a shop, and they did a fair amount of damage. So we're going to see them come over here. Looks like they're going to be able to take out this expansion, possibly. We're going to see, do they have enough to outdo the repair? It's going to be interesting to see. I think that they do, but there are still, of course, 2 more peons that could start repairing as well. And it looks like there's also going to be a fight going on over here very shortly. So it looks like those gyros are going to go ahead and back off. I'm sorry, those flying machines are going to go ahead and back off. And they're going to be needed for this fight up here where these destroyers are at. Now, do we have him actually breaking high upkeep? Not yet. And do we see Yumiko? Yumiko barely breaking up higher upkeep food, or low upkeep, I'm sorry. And we can see that Ted is at 75 and Fly is at 70. So definitely Ted and Fly have a better positioning here for them. Or, I'm sorry, better food counts, and they're going to really be struggling to get better positioning. Here we can see lots of grunts. Grunts are really good against spellbreakers. They do normal damage, and they're very tanky, and that's really important. And the reason that's important is, of course, because spellbreakers, as you can see, they take extra damage from normal attacks, and they don't do a whole lot of damage. So if you have a bunch of grunts in the front line, especially spirit-linked grunts, and then it's really good for your army to be dealing with those spellbreakers. Now, of course, we do have the Mortar teams that are going to be able to fire on both the Spirit Walkers and destroy them, as well as the Crypt Fiends and destroy them as well, with those fragment shards, which just deals absolutely insane amounts of damage. So it's going to be down to really who can do the best here. Now, also, one other thing to consider is that the Spirit Walkers are going to be able to actually steal Spirit Link, or cast Spirit Link, and then the Spellbreakers can steal that, but then the destroyers can eat the Spell Link, the Spirit Link off of the Spellbreakers and the human units. So it's really kind of a catch-22. Do you really want to do that or not? Who knows? But as you can see, those flying machines just not really well enough equipped to deal with the absolute micro and positioning that we just saw from both Fly and Ted, and easily going to go ahead and take that into a better position for themselves. Now you can see 3 very low HP fiends getting hit by the thing from the flame strike from the blood mage that is around here. Right here we can see from Thu, as well as dealing with the fact that there are lots of frag mortars coming in and attacking them. Now that's not a huge issue, because as you can see, that did actually win the fight, because there were so many units tied up in the flying machines, and it just wasn't enough, and they really just didn't have the kind of positioning they needed to deal with the destroyers, and they got really picked off by the webbed from the webbed and for the fiends, as well as the other destroyers, just doing a lot of damage to them. They don't have a lot of life, as you can see, 200 life, and they are heavy armor, which means they take extra damage from destroyers because they do magic damage. So you can see another fight going on. Some really good positioning, as you can see, just the way they split up their armies and essentially not allowing anything to get too caught. You know, in other words, that there's plenty of open space where, you know, you can micro something back if it's taking too much damage. Now this Archmage is taking quite a bit of damage. He's gonna go ahead and use an Invoke Potion, and it looks like somebody else used an Invoke Potion. It looks like a Divine Shield actually going off on the Paladin, about to hit level 5. Blood Mage does go ahead and go down. Didn't quite see it. This is quite hectic, as you can see, so many units on the screen. You can see this Mountain King is getting mana siphoned to it, which means it's getting additional mana put into it from the Blood Mage. Looks like they both have Blood Mages then, and that's actually going to be really good if they decide to go with double Flame Strikes and such things, which will do a lot of damage. Now you can see that it's also going to be something, he drains mana from the Death Knight with it getting stunned, so it's a really good combo there. You can just stun him and then drain all of his mana, especially if you have 2 Blood Mages doing it. But unfortunately, you do have to be able to win these fights, and it looks like that's not going to happen here. As we can see, that Fly and Ted are really convincingly winning this fight, and it's going to be very difficult at this point, I would imagine, for Yumiko and Thu to come back from this. Now we can see, look over here, and we can see that this is about to go out of money, as well as the fact that the mains are out of money as well. So unfortunately, it looks like Fly is going to be the only person mining here very, very soon, which is going to be unfortunate, of course, for Thu and Yumiko. However, that's really good for Ted and Fly. Now we're going to see if there's going to be another expansion put up, or what's going to happen, I don't know. They may not even survive this attack. As you can see, it's a pretty big attack against a pretty small army, and this is pretty much their entire army right here running away, as you can see. And so they're going to be in really constant danger from this point on in the game. If they get coil novaed or nuked or whatever, it's not going to be good. As you can see, that they're trying to run away. They do have some decent hero levels, so they might be able to do something in this game, but it's going to have maybe take a bit of a miracle. It looks like if that paladin gets surrounded, that would be unfortunate for them. We can see actually some ensnare and raider action coming out. That's going to be pretty much able to force something to die, and that's essential to what you want when you're trying to chase people down. So that's really good timing on that raider. You can see another statue coming in here, and it looks like that raider is going to be able to have an ensnare up here really soon. And when that happens, we're going to see it happen. Something's going to go down, and that may very well even force the GG if that is the case. As you can see, if it goes down on this Mountain King has no way out at this point. As you can tell, it does not get surrounded, but looks like he might anyway. He does go ahead and get surrounded, but he breaks it. Fly breaks this around just ever so slightly there. A little bit unfortunate, but still running away. We can see that this is a very low HP paladin right here, trying to do something. It looks like this paladin, Mountain King, is going to go. No, he gets Holy Lighted, which is going to allow him to stay alive. Is there going to be another Holy Light coming off? No, not indeed. There won't be. Unfortunately, we can see that Thu is going to go ahead and Holy Light the other paladin as well, trying to keep him alive. But at this point, it's just there's such a big army from Ted at this point, and really from Fly as well, that's going to be forced to call the GG on Thu and Yumiko. So that is, in fact, a victory to both Fly and Ted. So, yay! That's game 1. Now, normally there would be an annotation to game 2 here. At some point, there may be. If that replay is found, I will do it a cast, and I will put it up, and I'll put the annotation right here to game 2. Otherwise, there will be a... Well, at this point, I'll go ahead and I'll have an annotation like down here a little bit where you can go to game 3. So I will see you guys there if you enjoyed this, and I really think you're going to enjoy the rest of the series. This is a very good series. So I'll see you guys there.